So was it last Thursday or last Friday that Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl were released? It was in the last couple of days, which clearly took Dave Ryan by surprise, because when I mentioned it in our group chat, he was like, I actually can't tell if you're lying to me or riffing on me, Mark. But no, these games actually did come out to probably the least amount of fanfare a mainline Pokemon game has had since, I want to say, maybe Black and White 2. Like, for me, I obviously haven't looked that much into them, but just even on my Twitter timeline, I really haven't seen that much outside of a few people I know that would be playing these games, sharing screen grabs and whatever. But how are these games? And I guess my biggest question for you is, we're at the point now where, like, the new games, specifically Sword and Shield, have, taken the Pokemon series, like, to the next level. So how does it feel going back to this remake of Diamond and Pearl, which I imagine, and obviously looking at the character design, obviously doesn't incorporate those new mechanics of Sword and Shield. So how does it feel going back to those games? And do they do anything to try it and, I don't know, like, update aspects of the game that obviously aren't on the same level as Sword and Shield, but in any way comparable?
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, the game has a very specific, like, chibi art style, right? That we've all seen in the previews, and it's, it's something that they went for, like, in the Zelda remake. Sorry, I forget which Zelda game it was that they remade in that art style, Mark, earlier on Switch from last year. Looking for your help here.
I'm sorry, what art style?
Like that chibi kind of art style, like that almost looks like a sort of, Funko Pop figurine in its sort of presentation.
I cannot think of the game you're talking about at all.
Mark, what Zelda game did they remake last year?
Oh, sorry, Link's Awakening.
Jeez. I'm gonna have to cut that out because you left me dangling in the freeze.
Sorry, my bad.
No, sorry, fuck that shit. I'll leave it in. I don't care. But yes, Link's Awakening. God, I couldn't think of Link's Awakening. That's painful. So yeah, it has that very specific style, and it's like you can kind of deal with that from a visual perspective, or you can't. But I think the game itself, there have been some quality of life upgrades in there. One that I enjoy. You don't need what is referred to as an HM slave. You don't need like a Pokemon that's just going to be there to just purely use for HM moves. Like all your HM moves are now, environmental based rather than, necessarily something that you have to waste a Pokemon for in your party, which is a welcome change, and it's a change that they'd introduced in other games. So they've put that quality of life feature in there. XP share. I don't know how some people feel about this, but I think it's much better when it's just on all the time, and it is just on all the time in this game. So whichever Pokemon are in your party, as you battle through the game, they get leveled up in line with you, and I think that, to be honest, as somebody who just wants to play through the game and enjoy it and isn't like interested in any sort of like, YouTube challenge or grind or anything tricky, really, I'm just happy to have my Pokemon get raised and then assemble a team and use them as I need to in different battles. I don't know how you feel about EXP.
No, I'm the same. I mean, there was a certain kind of feeling that you got back in the day when you would have to obviously like put a Pokemon in battle first, then take them out, put your other Pokemon in, and there was a certain sense of satisfaction that you would get from doing it the hard way. But that was also in another lifetime ago when I wasn't having to pay my rent every month. So in 2021 I'm happy to have that shortcut.
Yeah, exactly, for sure. They have completely revamped the underground area in the game, where you have like your base that you can build and you can sort of find all sorts of treasure and bits and pieces, and it's now called the Grand Underground, and it is essentially a complete network underneath like the game that you can explore. You get different Pokemon turn up there, like Pokemon, and they'll show like in the overworld, and you can go and battle them. And the really cool thing is the Grand Underground Pokemon that you find match your level in the game. So however many gym badges that you've had up to that point will be like the level of Pokemon that you can find in there. So it's not like where you go to different areas of the game and you have to there's specific levels of Pokemon in there, and they're hard coded to be that level, time in memoriam. This thing kind of adapts with you as you play, which I think is a really cool feature, because you can find Pokemon in there that it might be trickier to find in the overworld, which it's just better, isn't it, really, like to have something like that. That's the kind of Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl version of the wild area, essentially, where they don't have maybe the scope to do something like that, but they did deliver an equivalent, which I think really kind of works within the game, and it's a good thing. The battle animations and stuff are more in line with the battle animations from Sword and Shield, and what I think is really cool is like where originally in Diamond and Pearl you'd have a trainer pop up and they do their pose and then they just stay in that pose and fight with their Pokemon for the whole battle. When a trainer turns up, they do their pose originally, and then they kind of turn into like a 3D version of themselves that you see, which is pretty great. And those are probably like the main things that have changed in line with what the original games were. And I think they're all welcome kind of features. And once you get into the sort of long and short of it, I think maybe some of the things that I guess are a bit disappointing is that it has the original Diamond and Pearl Pokedex, and you can't really open it up to too much more than that. So I guess people might be a bit frustrated by that, because they think like, we've got X number of Pokemon now, it would be cool if we could open up to having more in this game.
But that's the same argument we was having, or people were having, with Sword and Shield, right? Like, I just feel like this is going to be an ongoing thing with every new iteration of Pokemon. This is going to be an issue that can't really be overcome, because I just don't think you can expect them to, make 900 new animations and whatever else on top of that.
Yeah, true. I think you're right. But so the company that made it is a company called Ilka, who it's definitely the first time that Pokemon have ever outsourced, even a remake of a main series game, and I think they've done a really fun job. Like, I think some of the effects, like the water effects in the game, or like the trees, the shrubbery, the bits and pieces. Remember you said how like crappy it looked in that Mario Golf game? That we that definitely is going to be featuring in some of my end of year content for bad reasons. And everything just looked cheap and was like asset-y and stuff like that. It looks like they've really worked on making this game look and feel a particular way, and I really appreciate that. Like, from an artistic point of view, it does look cool. Like, it has its own specific style and feel, and because it's created from this company Ilka, that it's not standard in terms of the Pokemon company. I do think it does make it stand out from other Pokemon RPGs that I've played in recent years, and give it a bit of like a unique aspect. But I guess the crux of it boils down to, Mark, it is still a remake of a Pokemon game, and Pokemon games are Pokemon games in the way that they play. You are a child who is striving to become the very best, like no one ever was, right? So
Pokemon games are in fact Pokemon games.
So that exactly. So the formula and the setup and everything, it is a completely faithful remake of the original game. There is no real change to it. I do quite like the pacing of Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. I really enjoyed it the first time round I played it. I like the environments, the gradual build towards cities and the journey and stuff. I think it's one of the better recent releases, along with Black and White, although calling it recent when it's over a decade.
Yeah, it was like 15 years ago.
Yeah, over a decade old now, maybe not. But anything beyond kind of generation 1 or 2, I guess.
Yeah.
When I wasn't a child when I played it. So yeah, I've been enjoying my time with it, and all of the little bits and pieces, the new little things, just made the game feel better. But it's still Diamond Pearl, and it's a faithful remake. And if you want something that's going to try and shake up the formula or change it in any way or give a new slant on those games, then don't play the game. If you've got the original versions of the game, then that's probably fine. You can enjoy those, and they're still going to be there. But this is just a nice, it's a nice sort of like reimagining of a game, and I recommend it for like anybody that's into Pokemon. And let's face it, there's going to be a whole generation of kids, Mark, who've got into Pokemon in like the last in between like the last 15 years, who've either played Pokemon Go and got into it, or jumped on board with the Switch.
It is crazy to think that there are genuinely kids that got into Pokemon through Pokemon Go.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And they're all going to love it, being able to play through Sinnoh for the first time and experience all of that. So I definitely think that from their perspective, they'll really enjoy it. But yeah, I don't have anything bad to say about it, but I don't have anything necessarily overtly praiseworthy to say about it, other than the little bits and pieces that I've enjoyed. Because Mark, it is a Pokemon game. Kind of
it's about what I expected, to be honest.
Yeah. So people might not want to pay full price for it right now, but it's probably not going to come down.
They'll still be paying full price for it in 3 years' time.
It probably isn't going to come down that much in price anyway. So, if you want to play a nice remake of a game that you once liked, get it. If you can't be bothered with it, then you're probably not missing out on too much either, I would say.
Yeah. I'm probably going to get it. I'll probably just download it straight onto my Switch. And I'll I haven't had the time in the moment because I'm playing a few other things, but I probably will have a look at it at some point. Because I was on top of Sword and Shield. I was on top of the last remake, which was Sapphire and Ruby. But I didn't look too much into the DLC releases for Sword and Shield. So I'm wondering if I'm like finally over that Pokemon hump. But I don't think I will be. I think if I start playing one of these remakes, I'll get back into the groove.
I feel like you're going to be on Legends Arceus, right? Because that looks interesting.
Yeah, well, I think I'm waited with bated breath to see what that is and how actually finished that game is, because I'm kind of worried that the scope of what they're trying to do doesn't match the ambitions that we might have for it. But we'll wait and see.
Fair enough.
But I guess it makes sense about why this was outsourced, considering obviously Arceus has probably been the big thing that the Pokemon Company have been working on.